Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to Freelance Friday. It is another beautiful day here, finally, here in Chicago. But of course, you are all viewing from wherever you are in the world, in this new virtual world we're at. And today, I have Ben Hall joining me from Pittsburgh. Hi, Ben. How's it going?
Fine. How are you? Thanks for having me.
No, it's great to connect with you. I was seeing your keyboard in the background and I've got my piano here. I thought we could do some dueling pianos, but I think we'll get off topic with that one. That would probably be going a little bit too freelancing, I think.
Yes.
But that's what we're talking about, is obviously our work as freelancers and independent producers and directors and designers in the event space or providing into the event space. So tell me a little bit historically about your work as a freelancer, how long you've been operating independently, and what that spread is like, whether it's direct for a client, agency, or with other freelancers.
Yeah, so I've been in the industry for over 15 years at this point. Sadly approaching 20, which is showing my age a little bit. I've kind of gone through the full spectrum. I was at Microsoft to start my career, very much a digital focused designer, art director, and worked my way into digital advertising out in Seattle. And only in the last probably 10 years would I say, I would say this second part of my career, have I gotten into experiential and events, things like that. My work has been a lot on the client side with agencies. I've done, I do work with specific clients on a freelance basis, especially the last probably year and a half. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I mean, but I really am very comfortable in the agency setting as well. So, if an agency has a gap and they need someone to fill that spot, typically I'm available and with some managing experience, I know what it's like to work with freelancers and, to be really responsive and to be on point and, fill that gap, whether it's digital, print, or like what we're talking about today, experiential.
Right. And so when you operate within an agency environment, do you sometimes have occasion to say, well, look, I know a freelancer that can fill in this other piece, or do you have other freelancers come to you saying, can you bolt into my campaign or my project? Is that happening, or has that happened a lot, or do you see that happening more now?
Yeah, I mean, definitely more now. I think that we have to stick together as freelancers and, like we're doing today with, this blog and this video, is really create a network to support each other, especially when it comes to art directors and writers, producers, creative directors. Yeah, absolutely. So, in the past, yes, I mean, definitely if I am leading a project and I know I need a digital person, I have, my digital network. If I have an experiential that may be fleshed out creative, but we need someone to capture it, I have a pretty wide network of people with the film and video production.
Right.
So yeah, it's really, keeping your network open, not to just people in your field, but also expanding to producers. Like I was saying with film, digital writers, actually have
on-site managers and stage managers. And
absolutely.
Yeah.
And, with the way the world is changing and how, I think that's only going to increase, and we need to continue supporting each other.
Yeah, for sure. And I imagine there's probably a demand on your side to create virtual environments or virtual backdrops for corporate clients or galas or anything like this for nonprofits. So are you seeing people coming to you for that? Like, I need to have a corporate branded background and, environment to film from home, that sort of thing?
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely kind of on the newer side for me. I mean, really, what I have noticed even beyond that is just how on earth do we tackle experiential and customer engagement in our new world? Um, 2, 3 years ago, when I was doing a lot of work with Netflix and Lyft and Google, it was very easy to just say, okay, let's create an experience that's going to generate a conversation, not only with the brand, but between friend to friend, peer to peer, that sort of thing.
Right.
And, it was, I don't want to say easy, but there was a clear path as to say, oh, what's the clever activation that we can do that we know is going to drum up that conversation. Well, now, how do you create those same authentic conversations in a
Mm-hmm.
digital
In a
world?
digital space. Right.
And it's much, much more challenging. So I think even beyond, I think, what we're talking about in this kind of digital space are typically, without oversimplifying it, digital or design problems. And I think, the bigger conversations that I'm having and seeing is, what do we do beyond that? What's the engagement? What's the conversation starter? How are we going to get brands to start conversations and keep that brand loyalty beyond just we're all in it together, or this is a new world we're living in, something that's doesn't feel kind of exhausted at this
Sure.
point, or patronizing.
So it's really about innovating these multiple touch points that people are engaged and reminded of,
Yeah,
that brand identity or loyalty to brand or the importance of sticking with a brand. Um,
absolutely.
and this is probably a good chance for me to bring attention, I guess, to your work. We haven't really delved into it that much, but
Sure.
as a solo operator, you often have to do a lot of the sales work as well.
Yeah.
You've been around for a while, so a lot of people know your work, but do you find that some people just come to you for this one piece, or do you have opportunity to promote, an end-to-end solution for people? Does that come into play, and how do you sell that?
Yeah, that's an excellent question. And honestly, I think one of um, one of the things I can definitely improve on is my selling and networking. I'm not the greatest at selling myself. A lot of the work that I have that you'll see on my website is, trying to get a team or being part of an agency and leading these projects. And, once in the agency setting, very much taking that leadership role. But underneath that, maybe the agency umbrella, that name, which, I it's worked for me in the past, but I'm trying to expand upon that.
Right.
But, and then,
Well, what we can do, I think I might just sort of pull up your website because
okay,
I think it's fantastic. I'm just looking at this now. It is so clean and it gets to the point of how great digital design and creative, design can be put into practice. You've got a
yeah,
few like clear examples of what your work is,
yeah,
but you get to the point with, your selected work, some examples, obviously about you and recognition that you've had as well, which is,
yeah.
amazing stuff to have up there, I think. So
Thank you.
your website practically sells itself. So if you're wanting to go out there a little bit more, I think showing this to clients is is like, yep, we're going to Ben Hole. Let's do it.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I appreciate that. Yeah, I mean, that's the one thing, the advantage of my experience starting out as a designer in digital and just working my way up to the top at, it has its advantages. That experience is not something that you can just get from a book, not to throw out a cliche out there, but, I have, my fine art background to draw upon. I have this digital experience, UX experience,
Mhm.
working with engineers, software engineers, physical engineers. One of my colleagues at my last post was actually a former NASA employee. He was
Oh, really?
an engineer at NASA. Yeah. So, um, and I think having all of that, I'm able to take on projects and work with teams and people, and I'm able to, which is really helpful in a freelance, especially if I'm by myself. I can flesh out all these different pieces on my own. I
Right.
don't have to bring in, there are some creative directors, and they may be very strong in one piece, but they actually can't do a digital design or create a storyboard, or whatever it may be. They might
They've
have
got
gaps.
one focus, but you can sort of be versatile across the spectrum of all of the deliverables.
Absolutely.
And so you've sort of built up that skill set, obviously, over a number of years, and,
Correct.
mentioned having a hunger for this, when you were starting out as a designer.
Yeah.
But you also do a bit of mentorship as well, or you like to help new designers. I think it was something that was on your website. I saw you write, help new designers with their craft. So how do you do that? Is that doing apprenticeships or taking on interns, mentorship? How are you doing that?
Great question. Well, just a little bit of background. When you're starting out, just in the art field, I'm going to throw it really, really broad. We'll just call it art in the art world. There aren't a lot of answers. We're typically trying to solve problems or visual problems where you're expected to do something groundbreaking, something that's never been seen before. And that's a lot to take on.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I remember having a lot of questions and just feeling a little uneasy my first few years in the industry. And so I've kind of bottled that or put that in my front pocket, and know that when I'm working with a team, whether it's I'm part of a team within an agency leading a project, or if I'm leading a freelance project with some younger designers, to help them through the process. They're not, production people that I need just to, kick out X, Y, and Z asset. Help them, maybe go back after kind of the dust has settled a little bit, and talk to them and help guide them through, and let them know what they've done really, really well. And maybe, sorry, I'm gonna redo that. I just want, and let the young person or the designer know what did they do really, really well, or give them maybe a tip or two of like, hey, next time, one thing that's helped me in the past is solving this problem X, X, Y, and Z, or this way or that way. Just basically mentoring them in a light way, throughout the series of a project, throughout the lifespan of a project.
So yeah, you really sort of felt as though you had to learn a lot of this stuff yourself when you were starting out. And as you've said, you kind of gone, well, maybe I can help people so they don't feel so lost when they're getting going in their craft and their career. Excuse me.
Yeah.
But if there are new freelancers out there now, they're just finishing their degree, or maybe they're no longer working for the company they were at because of the virus, should they be sort of coming to you, sort of saying, hey, I want to collaborate, I want to sort of see if I can support you with work that you're doing, and vice versa?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. Let's team up. Let's create something. And even if, especially when it comes to young, maybe freelancers that are on the writing side or the development side, let's just create something cool. It doesn't have to be maybe a client facing project at this point. A lot of us have some spare time.
Mm-hmm.
What is I'll just call it like an art project. Maybe it's a fun app. Maybe it's a story, that we can collaborate and just look at it as content that we're putting out in the world to keep our skills sharp, but also have that content be a voice for us, that maybe it comes across the desk of uh, a
Someone that's
brand.
looking for that particular
That's right.
idea,
Yeah.
or it can be reapplied into something that they're
Yeah.
looking
Yeah.
for.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely.
Absolutely. And that's what we need to do right now, is to
Yeah.
come up with some great new creations, for sure.
Yeah. For sure.
Well,
For sure.
thanks very much, Ben. It's been really great to speak with you today. I've really enjoyed putting a
Thank you.
face and a voice to the website and the creative talent that is you.
Thank you.
And it'll be great to do some stuff with you in the future.
Likewise. And I really appreciate the platform and just doing this for our freelance community. We need this kind of thing. We need to stick together, and let's create some cool stuff together.
Make it happen.
Make it happen.
Thanks,
Thank
Ben. Have a great weekend.
you too. Thank you.
Okay, bye-bye.